Hey, welcome back to the next episode of YOML. It's a year of magical learning. We are on book 126. Today we want to discuss about whether you should take the red pill or the blue pill. Am I right?
Yep, that is this reflection for sure. The
Hmm.
book for today is a book called Why Buddhism Is True: The Science and Philosophy of Meditation and Enlightenment by Robert Wright. Have you ever read this book or heard of this book by any chance?
I heard it from you, but I have not read it because I tend to stay away from Buddhism.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to as well, but we can talk about that because this will be a fun conversation. But basically, this book was this guy, Robert Wright. He's not a Buddhist or something like that. He's somebody that's just exploring this philosophy in general. I don't know what his background is, but he does a lot of meditation. He's explored a lot with like meditation in his own and marrying up modern age science with like Buddhist principles and kind of looking at things from an outsider's perspective, but at the same time, he's not a Buddhist monk, but he's just kind of evaluating the Buddhism with a science lens plus his own experiences. So the reflection title is Taking the Red Pill. And for a little context, in case you don't know what taking the red pill means, that was from the 1999 movie The Matrix, in which the character Neo is offered a choice between a red pill and a blue pill by Morpheus, who is the rebel leader, right? The term red pill means a willingness to learn a potentially unsettling or life-altering or life-changing truth by taking the red pill. Or you could play it safe and take the blue pill and remain in your kind of ignorant state and just go about your life, right? Like, so Neo had the choice. Morpheus gave him the choice. Like, do you want to kind of just open up your eyes and, kind of see a new world that you've never imagined before, or do you just want to, status quo? So if you've never seen the movie, Neo takes the red pill, and then that's what's basically the rest of the movie's about is him exploring this new,
If you took the blue pill,
paradigm,
there's no
basically.
movie.
Right. Exactly. So the author of this book, he starts off his exploration in Buddhism by offering that analogy of Buddhism. In a lot of ways, it's like taking the red pill. Buddhism is an interesting philosophy, religion. I don't know. I don't know if it's classified as a religion. Is it?
It's a religion. Yeah.
Is it? I don't actually know that it's a religion. Like a formal religion, but that's semantics. It doesn't matter. It's a way of living, and it's a way of navigating the world.
Isn't all religion a way of living?
It is. Like, so I don't, like I said, it's like a semantic. I bet if you Googled, is Buddhism a religion? I don't know that it would come up technically as a formal religion. I don't know what classifies as that by our definition, in the dictionary, but I don't think it's a formal religion, but I may be wrong. I don't really care. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant to the point. So he opens up the conversation by the analogy of likening Buddhism to taking the red pill. And, I can't really argue with that, honestly. Like, Buddhism is all about being curious, exploring your emotions, your thoughts, literally seeing the world from a different perspective. One of the reasons why I don't personally love Buddhism is it's so unattainable because these people spend so much time in thought and reflection. And I kind of like where they're going with it, but I don't think that that's a practical approach to I liken it to people sitting up in a mountaintop all day long, where the real world's going on down in the valley. They're making up their own rules and having strategies and, seeing new planets and things up there. And that may be all true and that may be all great. But, when you go down to the valley floor and try to apply that to real life, I feel like a lot of times that doesn't, it falls apart because it's not based in the world that everybody else has to live in, right? So I'm totally okay with taking the red pill and seeing another world, but like, you have to know that you have to disconnect from that world. What we're trying to do personally, I feel, is a little bit different. It's taking the red pill, it's seeing the world from a different perspective, it's changing your paradigms, it's asking questions, it's being curious, it's learning something new every day, it's doing all these things that I agree with what Buddhism practices and preaches, but it's then also applying it back into the valley floor in the real world of, helping people to discover their own purpose and to help them to live their own life and to help them to be around a community of other people that still want to live in this world and not detach from it. It's kind of a blending of both of those things is what we're trying to do personally. But this particular book and my reflection, I love the idea these days of taking the red pill. When Amelia passed away, I was given a choice, in my opinion, to either see the world the way that it is or to reimagine it a whole nother way. And I chose to reimagine it another way. And that's living my life every day with my daughter in any way that I possibly can, which ultimately developed into what I call living for two, which is when I live and express my values, I do that with Amelia every single day. And it's my way of staying connected with her and feeling her presence and involving her in my life and me staying involved in her life, until whatever day that we can meet again. So I'm all about this idea of taking the red pill. I think that this has been an important part of a lot of what this journey is. I think that there's a ton of value that comes from what you see is all there is kind of lens that we hear about in Think It Fast and Slow, where you're stuck in your own paradigm. And there's so many other things that are going on in this world that it's a beautiful, magical world that's going on all around you. Sometimes you just need to stop and think and open your eyes and slow down a little bit and ask more questions and explore. And don't be afraid to do that stuff. So yeah, I think I think you and I think we both agree to take the red pill together, and and everybody else that joins us on this journey is also agreeing to take the red pill a little bit, because we're doing some weird things, and I say they're weird because they're not culturally accepted. When the blue pill is culturally accepted, right? Like the blue pill is status quo. The blue pill is doing what you're supposed to do. The red pill is making your own path and living your own purpose and doing your own thing. So I'm all about it. It's a question I can leave for. I'll pause there and let you chime in your thoughts, and I'm sure you got a lot. The question for everybody listening is, which are you choosing, the red pill or the blue pill? Playing it safe, or do you want to go explore the beautiful world all around you that you may not see today?
So for me, I would rather take both pills.
Yeah,
I would take both pills because for me, I need some kind of comparison. If I take this, what happened? If I take that, what happened? So the only way for me to see the contrast between, the difference between the path I took and the path I was. And if I were given a choice, I would choose both of them and take the purple pill. If you combine them, become purple, whatever. So I would take the purple pill because to me, that is the true red pill. The red pill is mean you want to know everything, right? You want to know the blue pill experience and you want the red pill experience. So you take the purple pill so that you can understand that one as well. So the red pill is hey, you want to know more than just this, right? But at the same time, having one path or another path, sometimes people can't really compare and contrast. If you can do a compare and contrast, your experience will have a much deeper impact on you and much deeper appreciation for the things that you aligns with your values. But if you only had the good things or only had the adventurous thing, whatever, you don't know where the baseline is. Therefore, the experience you have wouldn't be as good. And I don't know if by default in the matrix, the blue pill is already taken. You don't have to take the blue pill to go back to the matrix. Because you already spend your time in the matrix, i.e., taking the blue pill. So you by default you are taking the blue pill. So there's no need to take the blue pill. It's either you take the red pill or you don't. If you that way, then I think that changes the way that I see the thing. But I neither had the red pill or the blue pill. I want to know both. I'm like, okay, what would happen if I stay in the matrix? What would happen if I didn't stay in the matrix? I want to know both. And to me,
or what would happen if you learned what you outside of the matrix and then came back into the matrix, and how would that look?
And I think that's the essence of what Neo is, because he knew what was outside and he knew what was inside, and he was able to influence the software, the guardians, and also influence the people in there so that they don't just abruptly get shocked and die, like physically die. Because if you imagine, if you say, hey, you're living in a virtual world and none of these, it's real, right? You shock the system. But he was able to understand what these guys are going through and also understand what was happening outside for him to be able to transition and compose a way to wake them up from the slumber without killing them.
Right.
And so if you had the choice of getting the red pill or blue pill, and by that choice, that means you neither had red pill or blue pill, that you were neutral in the beginning. Taking one or the other, you would not know. Only taking both, that way you would know. So I think from the context of taking the red pill or the blue pill, the extension of the red pill, you want to do both. I mean, you need to have the contrast to have that kind of bridge. How will you go about appreciating what your value meant and what your core value is putting you on the right path, which is, is it the right path? I don't know, because I can't have any kind of point of reference. I say, yeah, that one was different in this way and this one was right in this way. Because you wouldn't know whether your path is right unless you know that way feels different and it didn't feel good. This way feels different and it feels better. that hey, I am closer to the right path than the other. Therefore, hey, this path is better. But if you never had the contrast, we would know. So for me, I'm taking both pills. As far as Buddhism, I just don't understand Buddhism all that much, just because a lot of the things that I guess, learned from secondhand may not be correct. And it just confuses me in a way.
It's supposed to be confusing. Like, these people have spent lifetimes in the mountains of their mind, if you will, like exploring different thoughts and different ways of living. Like, think of all the things that you and I have gone through over the past 2.5 years, right? And all the different lessons that we've learned and everything that's compounded on top of each other, so that when we say certain things to each other, we understand what we're saying and what we mean and what the context is of, a beaver must dam or whatever, like, we just understand what that means because we've gone down this journey together. We've talked through these thoughts together, and we've come to consensus every step of the way, every single day, right? Like, think about doing that for another 60 years. Right? The iceberg that's underneath our under the ocean that you see of True and I on top, like, the iceberg will be like the size of Antarctica. And you're like, how do you acquire that iceberg below that? Like, it's not feasible for other people to go and acquire that unless they go follow the same path that we followed and learn the same things. And somebody teaches, over and over and over again, the same stuff, right? Like, that's my problem with Buddhism is I love what you're saying about taking the red pill and the blue pill together, because I almost feel like I should have rewritten this reflection to say, take the purple pill, because like what we care about is balance, right?
Yes.
And what we care about is learning these things, like exploring, being able to see the other aspects of things, but then go apply it back to our regular life and help other people to apply it to their lives.
Exactly.
So we can, right? Like, how many
all the monks, they're teaching you to say, okay, your life is
suffering,
about worldly suffering, right? So your goal to be a Buddha is to detach yourself from life. And to me, that it's like doesn't make sense, because if you detach yourself from life and you become a monk, right? Or you practice the Buddhism way, essentially there's no progress, right? And you tell me, hey, now there's a lot of great ideas come from the monk. But the thing is, if everybody become a monk, there's no progress, because, for example, when you become a monk, you say, hey, I have no attachment to worldly possession. I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to have kids. Well, where would you think the kids come from? Where would humanity be if everybody becomes a monk? That argument alone, right? Because once you have the monk mindset, it's hard for you to make progress into society. Yes, there are thousands and millions of monks, and there's like a tiny fractions of monks that might bring that, hey, I practice meditation, now I'm gonna go and I'll teach how to release your stress. Okay, fine, that's good, but you don't care about the world. That's the practice you teach. And so when you don't care about the world, chances are you're not going to teach anyone anything. Even though you learn something, you're not going to teach anything. You're going to teach them, okay, as a monk, you need to leave your world possession because your life is all about suffering. You need to detach yourself to avoid the suffering that you have as a life. So you basically turn your back away from society. That's the majority. Yes, there are monks that actually maybe they like the book, I think, like a monk, for example.
But he is like, you could, like, here's the thing, it's like you could be a monk. Like, this is the interesting part of where the purple pill comes into play, is because I do agree with a lot of the principles that I was just playing a tennis match tonight, and I used a lot of the principles, like in the Competitive Buddha. It's a book that we'll review in a few months down the road. It's one of the books I read that have written a reflection about, or Think Like a Monk, or I've read a lot of books about like Buddhism and Buddhism thought and Zen and things like that, right? You could take those things, you could go apply them to the real life. You could go back into the matrix and apply them.
There's not a lot of these monk, like the guy who become a monk and then came back, right? Because the thing is,
well, I don't know the answer.
They do have some of these because it's their calling. Maybe they want to go help the poor or whatever. They have some of that, but not a lot. That's what I'm saying. It's not like they just basically turn their backs on the world and they go to the mountain to escape. The primary reason why they follow the monk mindset in the first place is to avoid the life worldly suffering. And to me, And I could be wrong because that's what I've learned as a secondhand learner of Buddhism, and maybe that's completely off to somewhere, or because the monks is not, I guess,
It's not
in a way,
practical. It's not practical. I mean,
way
it's
like
just,
so for me,
it's
it's still confusing, and confusing cause more confusion.
so it's not that it's confusing to them because they spend their whole lifetimes thinking, like, just like anybody would be confused what clubbing is, like if we try to explain it to them, because there's, like I said, there's an iceberg that's building below the surface. Like when we say clubbing, they're like, oh well, that doesn't, I don't get all of it, but like, the you want to take the red pill with us and go down this journey, that your magical learning or whatever, we can certainly, I guess if you want to call it, enlighten you as to what we mean by clubbing and what we hope to accomplish with the mission that you and I are on. However, I think you're totally on to in my opinion, the right path of Buddhism would be like Catholicism if it found a way to practically put it into people's lives every single day. Incredible thoughts that have been generated from taking that red pill of Buddhism. And there's incredible insights that have been gained that they can share. But you need to come back down to the valley floor and work it out, right? If you never leave academia, like, you don't know anything. You may have some really good thoughts and may have some interesting perspectives on stuff, but what does it matter if you don't apply it to life, into an actual life, not one that's manipulated,
right. Because a lot of times
it's not embracing humanity.
Right, because humanity is about your uniqueness. We're talking about the people must stand, right? Because you are born a certain way, you're gonna have to behave that way.
Right.
As far as from the monk's perspective, they say everybody should do this, everybody should be, gentle, or follow the breeze and let go of this, let go of that, right? And to me, it makes you the same. It makes you the same. It doesn't embrace that you have. And to me, that's kind of like contradicting what the uniqueness of a person is. Like, yeah, I mean, there are some great principle where the monks are, helping the poor, for example. They do that too. I mean, they do that just like the Catholic Church does. They help the poor, but at the same time, their primary. And the thing is, what I'm saying is, what they do is good, but that's not what
it's not balanced.
That's not what the primary objective is. Their primary objective is to not suffer. And yes, you can go and argue with me about, hey, yes, the monks, Buddhist practitioner may not be monks, they're just regular worker people, right? Their prime motivation is, I don't want to end up because the reason why they are good to people is because they don't want the karma go back on them. You see what I'm saying? It's not they're good because they want to be good. They're good because they don't want.
Well, I mean, that's the selfish gene.
To me, that's human nature. It has nothing to do with Buddhism. Right, because that's basic human nature, is to be selfish, to be, hey, I don't want to hit you on the head because I don't want you to hit me back in the head, right? That's a simple rule. What I was saying is, like the habits of Buddhism and what they do is from what I understand, like I said, I could be totally wrong, and I'm completely left, off in the island somewhere. But as far as I understand, is Buddhism is trying to avoid suffering for yourself, right? And that, to me, that's the majority of all the practitioner of Buddhism does.
Correct. I mean, so like, I would say that we probably shouldn't get into semantics of Buddhism because, like I said, there's an iceberg below that I'm sure that there's some talk and thoughts and things that we're removed from at this point in time to argue positives and negatives of Buddhism itself. For me, though, I think this reflection is more about the idea of I should have said taking the purple pill, because that's perfect. That's exactly what we're trying to do. You and I take the red pill every single day. We actively go explore, other ways to see the world, discuss other ways to view the world, and then we come back, right? Like, but we're trying to find ways to bring this back to other people, to share the elixir, I guess, if you will, which is another reflection from, Think Like a Monk, right? What we can talk about in the future, which is why I really love that book, because it was, for the first time in my life, somebody that had studied Buddhism broke it down in ways that you can practically use it in a real life, because that's what his purpose is. That's what he wants to do. That's why he wrote this book. That's why I love the fact that he's the entrepreneur that left college and was like, hey, it's great to talk about business and academia all day long, but we got to go get to work. You know what I mean? Like, we got to figure out how to actually help change people's lives, or just live our own purpose and help to share this knowledge with other people in ways that they can consume it and understand it and make it applicable to their life. Like, that's that's what we're trying to accomplish here, and that's what I'm doing with my own life, with Amelia and I every single day. Like, that's the taking the purple pill is really the answer. So I almost feel like we should change this title, and I feel like I should just rewrite this.
I think that it's in line with the primary missions of company.
Balance. Exactly. Buddhism is unbalanced. I think that you and I could probably agree to that one. The lifestyles that they live is very extreme in one direction. Actually, I just finished this like incredibly fascinating book that I sent you. I don't know if you saw it yet. It was about my stroke of insight. This lady had a stroke in her left hemisphere, which is all of your language, and the right side was fine. So she connected into she called it her fluid state, basically. Like, she felt one with the universe. There's a whole hemisphere of our brain that is to connect to everything. But really, at the end of the day, when she eventually, after 8 years, recovered her left hemisphere processes, she found it like, using your whole mind is important, is the point, right? Like, Buddhism, to your point about taking the red pill or the blue pill, you want to take them both, right? It's not one or the other. Yes, it's great to break free, but you got to come back, and then same thing. Like, it's great to just use your right side of the hemisphere of your brain, but then you need to figure out how to work with your left side to make yourself a whole human, because that's what we are. And I think what you're saying is Buddhism maybe doesn't feel like it's your whole human self,
right. It kind of left humanity out of the picture. And that's how I feel. I may be wrong, but like I say, there's always exceptions. You can always give me an example of why I'm wrong, but I'm just saying this majority of people think a certain way, a certain Buddhist mindset. And because of that, they say, well, I'm not focusing on advancing humanity as a race. I'm just trying to help you get out of your misery. Right. That's the mantra of Buddhism is, I'm here to alleviate your suffering. You do this, right? I'm here to give you a way out. You kill somebody, I'm here to give you a way out. I am not going to take your sin for you, but I'm going to give you a way to meditate and to pay for your sin in a way. It's like you murder somebody, you run to the headmaster of the Buddhist. He's not going to be able to do anything for you as far as sin's concerned, but he can tell you a way to get out of it. And to me, that's the teaching of Buddhism that I know from learning from other people who are Buddhists. And to me, is what I get in my head over and over again. And that to me is saying, hey, you are leaving humanity out of the equation.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And that's why I said, well, yeah, I think I have my own uniqueness. You have your own uniqueness. I think it's worth something. It's our strengths and our weaknesses. And you need to embrace them both, not just because say, hey, your ambition is causing you headaches, right? Okay, your hands are hurting you, chop it off, right?
Our whole left side of our brain is about categorization, order, numbers, logic, language. Like, I mean, that like you couldn't communicate, look, I get it. There's a ton of value to feeling connected to a bigger thing than yourself, because it exists. There's a ton of value in being grateful for all the stuff that we have. Like, I mean, there's a ton of value in the thoughts of Buddhism. It just needs to be applied to real life for it to make sense. Otherwise, it's just academia, living in the mountains and talking to your own buddies about new interesting ideas. And to your point, from the beginning of this conversation, if you take the red pill and then you only stay in the red pill world, it's the same as staying in the blue pill.
You have to get out into the real world, and you also have to enter into the matrix. You can't just stay.
You don't learn by just staying
because
in the matrix.
You can't help those people who are already in the blue pill state, in matrix, unless you can go into it and influence them there for you to give them the purple pill, right? Because they knew what the blue pill was like. Now say, hey, there is also a red pill. It's your choice. I'm giving you a choice. You have the choice to choose. And to me, that is more aligned with the balance mantra that we have at company.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the life that I want to live. Like I said, there's a ton of value in Buddhist thought.
I agree with that.
It's incredibly insightful, and I appreciate what they do, and I appreciate them going down their own journey of finding this stuff, right, and bringing this back in however ways they're bringing it back. But like for you and I, like our mission is balance. So our mission, is the purple pill, and I think in helping other people to find that, and helping other people to live that, to build their own universe within the universe that they live in, and go have a great life, in theory.
Yeah. I mean, life
but,
is meant to be enjoyed, and that's my aphorism.
Right. Yeah.
Life is meant to be
it's
enjoyed.
It's a truism. Write it down. Seriously, you need to write these things down. If you're not writing them down, I'm gonna be really disappointed someday. Awesome. All right. Well, any final thoughts on why Buddhism is true and taking the red pill?
Yeah, I said, take the purple pill.
I agree.
Not literally the purple pill, but take both pills. Make it purple.
I think that's a truism. Like, you should write
Take a
down
purple pill.
Yeah, taking the purple pill. Yeah. I like that a lot. I mean, I really feel like I should rewrite this one. That was a good discussion. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. The question we could leave for you all is, which are you choosing, the red pill or the blue pill or the purple pill?
Continue to be ignorant.
Well, I think I appreciate you saying that, because I would love the corrections as well. I would love to keep exploring Buddhism, because I feel like that's incredibly valuable. I appreciate the insights I've gained from every school of thought, So yeah, keep it coming. Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. See you.